Welcome to the Bold Claims Podcast with your hosts, Matt Danskin, Daniel Roboski, and Taylor Ammons.
Welcome to the Bold Claims Podcast, brought to you by the Building Experts Institute. My name is Matt Danskin. Today, we've got a special guest, Eric Oberembt from D&M Roofing out in Nebraska, who's going to join us as we talk about all sorts of stuff from personal development, sobriety, his new book that he just released, as well as some UPPA stuff. Don't miss out on this one. Let's get started.
We've all had this conversation with me specifically. If you want me to be involved in your sales process, we're all screwed because that's not my thing at all. And knowing where you fit in and knowing where your expertise is huge. But also the argument of you have to be running this $40, $50 million company. Why are we setting the ceiling so high for success? Right? A guy running a $3 million roofing company that's him and three dudes is successful. A guy running a $20 million roofing company with a good sales team and a staff and all that, that's successful. So why are we setting the ceiling so high to validate expertise?
Well, the question is, who is we?
Yeah. Well, and I think Jesse Itzler.
Right?
Well, I don't think that it
internet.
is. I think it's whoever's the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
the person that wants to be recognized for the thing that they do. So they're saying, well, fuck that guy because he's only doing 3. That's not important. Well, he might be 80% more profitable than you are.
Yep.
Correct.
But cool. Like, congratulations on your, $1 million you made on 50.
Yeah. And you know what I've seen too is that I've sat with companies who are doing $500,000 a year to 30, 40, 50 million a year. The guys who run those companies, they all kind of drive the same trucks. They all go golfing. They all go do that. There's no difference for them. It's just a matter of how far they want to grow. Mm-hmm. It doesn't, again, that setting that ceiling so high for people, and especially somebody starting out who just started their company who hasn't even ever made $1 million. Their company has never made $1 million.
And that's why they end up failing, is because they're chasing that number.
I think Jesse Itzler said it the best at RoofCon this year when I don't remember who had asked the question, but it was during the Q&A, and he was like, my first question I ask people when they say they want to grow a $100 million business is why?
Yeah.
What are you willing to sacrifice in order to achieve this, and what is your ultimate goal with it? Is it just?
But why
to
are
be
you
able
willing to sacrifice the things that you have to sacrifice to be able to get that?
Correct.
Like, why? Not only what are you willing to sacrifice, but why are you willing to sacrifice it?
Correct. And are the people that you're willing to sacrifice it for willing to make those sacrifices with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's
achieve the end
huge
result,
part, right? If it's
Correct.
just you, if you're putting that backpack on and going down the road yourself, it's a completely different trajectory than if you're like, I want to raise up everybody around me and I want to have this team of people who are I'm taking to the top, right? Justin Rogers said it when we were doing his episode of like, if money's the thing that you're chasing, you're going to fail, right? If that's the sole thing that you're doing. And I love that mentality when people have it, because everybody that I consider ethical and on some moral plateau is never going, I'm just trying to make this dollar. It's how can I help my community? How can I help the guys? I want to take somebody who had nothing and they've always been there for me even when they didn't. I want to make sure they're getting brought up. Like that type of mindset is where I consider success, and it doesn't live in a financial range. It doesn't live in that, well, I got $50 million to speak on this thing. I can say starting point matters too, right? If I started at 0 and you started at 10 million or you started at 20 million, starting point and the barrier of entry changes things.
Sure.
So
I think the pursuit of money for a lot of guys, especially if you've come from not having much money, and your goal is, I need this money, and you find out, hey, there's a bunch of money in roofing and I can go knock a door, I can slap a roof on, I can do it. You're going to cut corners to get to that. I need to make money, which ultimately is going to short circuit your thing. Your quality is going to be shit. Your reputation is going to suck. Like all these things that don't allow you to go that far or to have that success last, versus like, hey, I want to, make a good living, but like, I want to do this thing really well. Like I've learned this stuff and I want to use my expertise to help people out and like install something I can be proud of and all that. And then, the money is going to follow that. Mm-hmm.
But there is a transition period there, right? There's I have to pay my bills, right? There's that version. And then you get past that to then it's like, well, let's go out and impact things. Let's go change things. And then the money becomes the byproduct, right? To your point. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I had a thought. It was inappropriate. Sure. I tried to.
No.
I tried to stuff it down. I tried to put it away.
Be authentic.
And then my brain shut off. But it goes back to the why for me of, you said the guys driving the same truck, the guys, right? Like they're doing the same things, they're doing the whatever, which is cool. The difference is that they have the choice.
Correct.
To do it, right? And I think that like for me, that's what money is choice and freedom.
Yep.
It's not a number that I'm looking at, because there is no number, right? And if you're a guy that's like, nope, that's like, then I'm happy. Fuck, you don't know that. Like you have absolutely no idea if that's true or not. For me, it's the freedom. If I get to a number that gives me the freedom to be able to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it, and we've had this conversation numerous times, that I can skip out for 2 weeks to go follow Tegan playing soccer wherever, or I can, like if I can have that freedom, that's what money will give me. And that's why I chase it. I don't chase it just to, it's the difference between chasing it to have things,
correct.
and chasing it to have impact
Life.
or have and live. And have the people around you that you want to have around you. Because it also does that, because that is, and I don't have a bunch of money, but I've got enough that I can choose who to spend time with. Right. When you get to a point where you get to choose your client, that's freedom. When you don't have to say yes to everybody, that's freedom. Because I remember when I couldn't do that. I remember when I had to say yes to everybody, because I was like, I need that 1,500. I better sell that roof, right? And it ended up being a nightmare, and I probably ended up losing money on the job, right? But you have to learn that lesson before you can teach it, right? But it's being able to say no, right? So if we're going to define success, which is what you said before, if I'm defining success, it's I have the freedom to say no and the ability to say yes to whatever I want.
Well, and I'm going to pick on you.
Come on.
Please, let's go.
For a reason. And it's for a reason, because there's a version of this conversation that is had everywhere, right? And you and I had it 6 months ago, and I said, what's your number? Like, where do you need to get to? And you're like, I want to get to 5 million. 5 million, I can retire. I don't know if it might have been 7, whatever the number was. And then I said, how'd you come up with that number? And you're like, well, I don't know, it just seemed like a good number. That is a common thread in our industry, is like 20 million. Okay, but why? What do you get at 20 million?
Right.
Well, I don't know. I said, okay, I want $250,000 a year for X amount of years, or 20 million. Okay. Do you think it's going to be that way? Like, do you think the economy is going to be the same way? Do you think, like, you're just arbitrarily coming up with a dollar amount that you think is what makes you happy, right? I think what you said is exactly spot on, but trying to convince people who are driven by money that there's value in that quality of life, and there's value in nurturing those relationships that are important. I don't think that some of these people are just never going to get over that hill.
They're just motivated by things, though.
Well, that's it. It's they see a successful roofing company buying all their top sales guys Rolexes and supercars and also. I'm not mad at anybody for doing that. If you got it, do it. And if that's how you want to, if that's the culture you've built, I'm all about it. But that shouldn't be a guy who just came into the industry's aspiration. Right. There's got to be steps. Somebody needs to mentor those people and say, what is it? Where'd you start? How'd you get here? Right. Because none of us got into roofing because everything was going well. Right. And where are you trying to get to? So we can set these milestones. And this is why, like, what I do and my expertise is so boring and
guru.
But this is why it's so boring, right? Because you guys have all dealt with me. There's never like okay, this is our 2-week plan. This is our year-long plan, and you get to just grind through it for a year to see the result of the thing. People don't want to do that. They want that instant gratification stuff, and especially sales guys. They're like, I sell this roof, I get a check. I sell this roof, I get a check. I sell all these roofs, I get a Rolex. Like that's the motivation for them. And I think there are people in our industry that have to do a better job of mentoring and stop trying to be that guru, right?
But I think that you have to go through that to be able to understand the other side of it too, right?
So you think you have to pay the dumb tax?
I think, and I don't even know if I don't even know if I'd consider that dumb tax, right? I think dumb tax is fucking up and learning from the mistake, right? I think that you got a young guy that has really never done anything, right? Whether he went to school or he didn't, or he worked at Burger King or whatever, and he sees this opportunity to change how he lives, right? He is going to be impacted by this money, this thing that will give him an ability, but he doesn't understand at that point how it can change his life.
Yep.
Now I think the responsibility on me as an owner and as a leader is to show them how to make it first.
Yep.
And then once they have it, then be able to go, okay, now that you have it, what do you want to do with it? Now let's have a conversation about, are you going to just go buy things so that you have to work harder and harder and harder to replenish what you did? Or do you want to have a conversation about how you can impact people, make relationships, blah, blah, blah. Then that time comes with that. And they're like, oh, I see it, because I didn't see it. Right away. And there's a ton of people watching this that like might be in that beginning phase, right? And they're like, screw you, I just want to go make some money because I'm 25 and I don't know any, right? And they don't know any better. You can try to teach somebody and tell somebody something, but if they're in that season of their life that they don't even know what's on the other side. We've all kids tell a kid something, they're like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I don't understand.
Or they don't care.
They don't care. And they're like, I don't understand. And then one day something happens and they get hit on the head and they're like, oh, now I get what you meant 3 years ago, Dad.
Yep.
Right. And I think it's the same conversation, here is that I'm not going to give people grace for being dipshits. Right. But I'll give them grace for understanding that they're still in that season that I was in at one time, but I'm not going to let them continue to live in that season. And that's my responsibility to make sure that they understand that there's more seasons to live in. Does that track?
I think that's when you've already done it, we have an obligation to people that we give a crap about to shorten the time frame that they have to endure those things. Right, just by way of
thanks for saying crap. Well, that was man. Well, I thought you were going to say something else, and like my heart fluttered a little bit, and I didn't want anybody to get too
offended.
Offended is the word I was looking for. But go on. I also love derailing shit.
There's a glitch in the matrix.
Absolutely, I love derailing shit. It's so much fun.
The second time he's done this to me was yesterday. We were talking, and he goes, "You know what I love? When I say shit to Rabowski," and he goes, because I have to process what the hell he just said. And apparently I have a tell with it. So.
That's funny.
The tell is just that you actually listened.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I
can easily segue us back in because back to what you were saying when you picked on me. Bastard.
I was just using you as a good example for
I'm just running my mouth. Yeah, I'm just running my mouth. But no, I mean that ultimately triggered me to start thinking about some things because I've been in these personal development groups. I've been trying to put myself around the people that I look up to and aspire to have what they have. And the biggest thing that I've noticed is and my wife and I have went back and forth on it is. We are going to need a lot of money. We're not going to need a lot of money so that I can go buy the things. I don't care about the Rolexes. I don't care about the shoes. I don't care about the outfits. But I know the vision that I have for impact, and it's going to take a lot of resources to make that happen. But I think the love of money and the desire for the money so that you can acquire these things is a flawed philosophy. But I think if you do have the mindset and the motivation to acquire a lot of money so that you have the resources to then go out and do your impact, I think that's fantastic. But the biggest, I guess, epiphany that I would say I had is when I was dialing in what that financial independence looks like is more the journey of who I will become to achieve that and to have that and the person that I have to become, as opposed to if you gave me all of that money today, I would burn through it because I'm not the person that can manage 20, 30, 40, 50 million dollars.
The key to that is knowing that you're not the person yet.
Correct.
And not
having the mindset of yet. yet.
Yeah, and
you
you have to have the yet.
Correct.
But having the self-awareness to realize that you're not that person, because
and it's okay.
Because that's the fake motherfuckers that you see all day long that pretend that they are that person already.
Yep.
And it's like, no, bitch, you're still in phase 1.
Well, the people
you
that
haven't
are
got
above
to
you,
phase 5 yet.
The people that are above you know that. They can see it.
100%.
The people below you will find out when they
and
start
what I'm trying to
engaging
figure
with
out
you.
is if they're delusional enough that they actually do think
Believe that.
they believe it.
I think they
or
do.
if they truly think that they're just trying to be that, you know what I mean?
I think to some degree they absolutely believe it, because there's a ton of these dudes that I've seen on social media where they pop in and they bitch, moan, and complain about everything that somebody else is doing and how they could do it better, and they're God's gift to whatever thing that they want to be a person. And then they go through, it's like somebody flips a switch, and then something happens to them, and you see them 6 months later going, "Hey, really sorry for all the things that I did." And a lot of times that's alcohol related,
or they're calling for a job or asking for a loan.
Yeah,
that's generally
right.
Oh yeah, there's a couple guys in our industry that the real popular expert type of people that nobody fucking likes.
Yeah.
That
post your books.
I know because I've been in conversations, have reached out to people asking for money because they're broke, but then the public perception is that they have all these things going on. And it's like, I wish that in order to put yourself in an expert mastermind, some version of that leader, like if you're the one that's created, like there's a prerequisite that the industry gets to go, well, let's look at your books. Let's look if you're a good person behind closed doors. Like, because so many of these guys that run these things are awful humans.
Correct.
Just shitty people in general. And they don't have the money, or they don't have the thing. And they're really just trying to create this like friends group, like a Letterman's jacket type of like, let's all hang out, but spend a lot of money to do it. And it doesn't make sense. And they're shitty people. And
but I think a lot of it can be kind of compensating for, there's a guy that, not to mention his name, but there was a guy that was really big about company culture and everything's awesome. And, just do what I say and your company's going to go through the roof.
That's awesome.
And,
right.
He's right
and
there.
then, yeah, what do you? It was a different company culture, cheerleader. But
the motherfucker called me a cheerleader.
A different cheerleader.
You can add that one to the list.
Yeah. Okay.
But
noted.
This guy was essentially like absolutely in free fall, and his team was like the worst culture, and like everybody hated their job, and like it was just absolute garbage. And it's like, why is this guy, like, you could just take a random guy, from the middle of the market and go, his culture's probably better. He's got more to tell
you could
about
find
culture.
the designated survivor, right? Like you could just pick somebody and put him in
Yeah. So, I mean, the point is, like, he was catastrophically bad at that thing, but he's like, that's what I need to go tell everybody how to do. And we talked about this earlier. Like, there's a bunch of things that I am horrible at in business and, life and whatever.
Seeing
remembering
things. Visualization,
manifestation.
But there's things that I'm really, really bad at. I don't go try to be like, hey, let me teach you this part of your business.
Yeah, I'm not going to teach you QuickBooks.
Right. But that's part of that evolution, right? That you were talking about is you have to slowly start taking off hats to figure out the thing that you're good at.
Yep.
It took me 14 years in this industry to really dial in the, like, I'm really good in a fractional space, coming in and telling people how to be more efficient, right? But it took me selling, being a full-time operations person, going down the PA road, doing all these other things, which gave me great experiences. But it took me years to refine that. You don't just pick
But you had experiences.
Yes.
That's the difference.
And that's what helped me define that thing that I'm like really good at, and how to sell it to people and make it effective. And so to your point, like, you've done it with Restoration Referral System, but you did a whole bunch of other shit before that was a thing. And then even after that was a thing to make it better in what it is now.
Sure.
So.
Well, and even with BEI, that's one of the reasons that I have partners. Right, because there's areas that I'm not strong at. We have partners, we have employees, we have people that can do all the stuff that I know I'm bad at, that they're good at, and partnerships are a whole other can of worms.
But look at everybody that you consider successful in the industry, and I would bet you almost exclusively there's a partner. somewhere in their ethos, somewhere.
Well, it doesn't
They may not be
necessarily. They don't have to
active
be
out
like an ownership partner or
Correct.
whatever. There's part. Yeah. Aspects
Yeah,
of
there's
partnership.
somebody that they are working with to help achieve what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you've got coaches, I've got coaches. I mean, we have people that
I don't
we
have
look
coaches, I
up
have you
to.
guys.
Ah,
We have people,
sorry.
same shit. We have people that we look up to, and that's, you know, the biggest thing that I recommend to people in the industry is find those couple people that you look up to and admire and reach out to them. Create your own luck. Like, send these guys messages, these gals messages, and hey, here's what I'm great at. Here's what I'm not great at. You know, would love to have a conversation, buy you a cup of coffee, or send you a gift card for a Zoom call or something like that.
Also, don't be offended when they say no.
Correct.
Because it's their time.
Yep.
Because when it comes to mentorship, coaching, whatever it is, it turns into a friendship with the right people. But like, there needs to be a transaction, whether it's time for money or it's employment for time or whatever it is, right? Because like, everybody that gets to work in my ecosystem gets access to me all the time. And if they want to sit down for 2 hours and have a conversation, I am absolutely going to do that. But I'll have people just randomly reach out on Facebook and be like, hey man, could I have an hour? And I'm like, here's an invoice.
Right.
Right.
If you'd like,
How
you
dare you?
right. And I know, and I sound like an asshole for saying it, but like, it took me so long to be okay saying that and going, you know what? My time is worth something. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to help you. I do want to help you, but understand I have all these other people in my world that not only do I
You've already
impact them,
committed to
and they
taking
impact
care of them.
me.
Right.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
so they get my time first. I'm not just going to give it away. And I have a family and I have a kid and I've got all of these different things. So don't be offended when somebody's like, I'm $1,000 an hour. I know what I'm worth.
Well, and sorry, Tegan, I'm not
Right.
going to hang out with you because this random joker from halfway across the country wants to stay on the phone for 3
Who
hours.
I've never met.
Who I've never met.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when I do, because this conversation happens, right? And I'll be upstairs and I'm like, honey, I got to go downstairs. I have a call. And she's like, why do you have so many calls? I'm like, so you don't have to live in this shitty little rental that we're in right now, but until we get into our house.
Right.
I'm like, so I do have to go do work, but I'm only going to be gone for an hour.
Yep.
And I'll be back. Right. And I make that promise. Right. Because again, that's not to go to my book, but that's something that I talk about in the book is doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right. If you actually do what you say you're going to do, that is not a thing that people do anymore.
What book?
What book?
Yeah, it'd be a good time,
Nice.
good
That's a
time to
great
talk about
segue.
You
it.
like that?
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up and listen more. That's the name of the book.
Amazon bestseller, by the way.
Oh man. I'm not going to lie. I didn't allow, I'm going to tell you a story.
Come on with it.
So we did the thing, we did the book launch, right? And so we did the book launch and my publishing group, they set it up and they're super professional and they get you to get, 50, 100 people to come show up, buy the book at the same time. And look, there's an intent. The intent is we get everybody to buy at the same time, everybody's searching on the search bar at the same time, and you get to hit this Amazon bestseller status so that you can use that to,
Trick the algorithm to boost
and
it.
then you
Yeah.
can put it on the book later. And then when they do press releases, they can say that it was bestseller. Cool.
It's like being a TED speaker or what's the other bestseller? New York Times.
Yeah,
bestseller.
Wall Street,
Wall Street,
whatever. And that's cool. And I'm like, I was super humbled by everybody that showed up to that, right? Like when people started dropping
It
into
was
that,
a
I was
nice
like,
turnout.
I was like, oh my God. I'm like, people actually support me,
And
right?
they went out. A lot of folks went out of their way. You could tell just by what they were
100%.
saying. Like I was in an elevator
Right.
in Minneapolis. I'm like, I got to log in. And
Right.
then I'm
Joe was at
watching
the gym.
some of these other people. Like somebody was on a plane. Somebody was at the gym. Like there were people who very intentionally were like, I have to go and support this
Right.
person that I
And so
respect.
that was super humbling. The next day, the publishing group sends us an email with a bunch of images, like static images that we could use for social and blah, blah, blah with Amazon bestseller and blah, and whatever. So Lexi makes this post for me and she sends it to me. I'm like half asleep. So like, I didn't even look at it. And then she just posted the next morning and it was like, look what we did. We did so great. We blah, 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 blah. It was up for 3 minutes. And I messaged her. I'm like, take that the fuck down.
Really?
And yeah. And she was like, what? Okay. All right, hold on. And she was like, why'd you want me to take it down? And I'm like, we didn't do anything. I was like, all of these people supported me and like stood behind me and believed in me. And there's people that are going to hate this book and they're going to ridicule me for it and they're going to shit on it and they're going to do all these things. I'm super proud of it, but the only reason people are buying it is because there's other people out in the ethos that actually believe in what we're doing. And I'm like, so a post that we make isn't going to be about me. It's going to be about everybody else. I'm like, so do not put anything up because that was all manufactured shit of how we got it to Amazon bestseller status, but it was manufactured by them assisting me. I didn't do shit. I didn't just go drop it on Amazon and everybody went, oh my God, and the world fucking showed up and bought this book.
Yep.
It was all these other people that supported me. And I was like, if you put I in any post that has to do with the things that we're doing, take it fuck down because it's not genuine and that's not like who I am. That's the point of it though, is when we're talking about culture, are you talking about you? Are you saying I all the time? Or are you saying we? Are we saying you guys did this?
Right.
I helped facilitate it, right? When you went on the Exhale trip, right? There was nothing that I wanted more than was just to facilitate that so that everybody in that room, everybody on that beach, everybody on that boat was able to be like, man, we had an amazing time. Thank you. And it wasn't because I stood up in a room and yammered on for 4 hours. How often did I do that?
Yeah, very little,
right?
If at all, actually.
Exactly, because it wasn't about me; it was about everybody in that room. And if the cultures change, to your point, if the cultures change to the we and to everybody else in the room except you, then you will eventually win.
At that point, you're already winning most of the time.
Correct.
Right. If you have the ability to positively impact people like that, you're already leaps and bounds ahead without this like self-interest motivation, right? So
because then it all comes.
Yeah.
Right. Then it all comes.
And then you get to do the awkward, like, thanks for thanking me. It's like the thank you for your service for veterans thing.
Yeah.
Like there's no, like, you're welcome.
So for me, it's on a sobriety birthday when people call me up and are like, oh, great job. Congratulations. And I'm like, for what? Not being a piece of shit anymore?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like, awesome. Like, so like now I'm living as a normal human and I'm not hurting everybody in my life.
Right.
And you just congratulated me for that.
Right.
Like that's a weird compliment for me to get. And it's every single year.
Does that phase out? No. And the reason what I mean by that is like, because I'm not familiar with the whole structure, but you get the coins for like certain milestones, right? But it's not like 0 to a year. There's like a month and then
in the
6
beginning
months
they
and
go
then,
months.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
and then there's a bunch of fucking weirdos out there. They're like, I have 82 days. I'm like, settle down, Johnny.
Well, but to my the point I was kind of getting at was like, you see these guys who go down that road in the first 365, where every milestone they're like, hey, I did it. And everybody's like, fuck yeah, you did. Great job, blah, blah. Does that phase into where your head's at now, where it's been years and you're like, yeah, I get it. Like
you learn.
You just go to the like 10 years, 15.
No,
20.
you still go every year, but here's why. There's two reasons.
Is it less impactful for people to give a shit about your sobriety post certain milestones, right? Because I think it's important to have that support in the beginning, and at least that's the impression, because you see a lot of these guys where it's like, got my 1 week, got my month, whatever, and everybody's like, oh, amazing. So at some point you just go, okay.
It goes back to what I just said. The first year is about you.
Got it. Okay.
Right? The first year is about you, and look what I did. I got 3 months. Look at me. I got 6 months. Look at me. I got 9. Because that's what it does. It goes a month, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, end of the year. And then something I think kind of clicks, and tell me if this happened for you, but like something kind of clicked after a year where I realized that when I would go back and get a chip at 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or whatever, it wasn't about me anymore, because I didn't want to go back and get them at all.
It was about other people.
It was about other people recognizing that it's possible to be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. It's not about me going, look at what I did. It's making sure that everybody knows that there's hope in that room. Yeah. And that they can do the same thing.
Yeah. I had a similar kind of epiphany like that, but even, probably in January, because I went to a meeting in January.
Was that the last meeting you went to?
That was the last meeting I've been to. Yep. And, but, and I deleted, and I told Loyal, and it may be controversial. I'd be curious to kind of pick your brain on this, but, and I had told Loyal, because I deleted my Everything AA app that was tracking my days. And I told her, hey, if you want to track my sobriety dates and celebrate that annually, I'm all for it. But I said, what am I tracking? Are we counting how many days until my next relapse? I was like, because
we've had this many days since an accident.
Yeah, I'm like, I've made the decision that I've created a new identity, and this is who I am. And the old version of Taylor was a big drinker, had a problem with it. You know, who I am today, I know that if I decide to go pick up a drink, it's going to lead to absolute turmoil, but I don't wake up every day and just be like, oh, I hope I don't drink today, you know, because it's been long enough down the road now that it's part of who I am, that it's no longer acceptable for me to drink, but I'm not tracking it per se, but I'm still, you know, following my principles of AA and ultimately doing my step work, just not by the book per se. Does that make sense?
What do you mean by doing the step work but not by the book? What does that mean?
So I still understand and put my faith. Yeah, you're good. But, you know, I still understand and put my faith in,
go ahead.
in a higher power.
On a bourbon.
You know, and then I make sure that, you know, if I have any wrongs
Are you
that
still
come
doing a step
up,
10?
I'm still correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. My 10, 11, 12 every day, you know, that continued daily reprieve of just, hey, let's analyze the day. Was I a shithead on anything? Is there anybody I need to reach out to and make amends on, you know, and making that a lifestyle? But, you know, I think everybody could benefit from having a structured framework to their life for their relationships.
Let me ask you something, because I have this conversation with my coach a lot.
Okay.
Do you have a coach that told you that you needed to change your mindset because you are a different person now? Was it a coach that told her? Did you have a coach that told you that, or did you have an epiphany that said, I'm a new person, I don't need to focus on?
I think I've heard it and then had the internal epiphany.
So I had a conversation with my coach, and he busts my balls all the time because I've got over 15 years, right? And he's like, dude, quit calling yourself an alcoholic. He gets really upset with me. He stopped getting upset with me. He used to get upset with me because he's like, I can't change your mind on this. But he used to get really upset with me because I would still be like, I'm an alcoholic. And he's like, you're fucking not. He's like, you haven't drank or used in 15 years. You're a completely different human. And he gives the same analogy of like, you know, like if you're driving, you're not going to drive forward looking in the rearview mirror because you're going to fucking hit something, you know? And in theory, I'm like, I absolutely get it. You're absolutely right. I am not that person because I'm not like and none of you knew me back then. Right. But I am not that same person anymore. But if I forget that person, I do run the risk of becoming him again. Because I do believe that I am hardwired. And if I have a moment where I'm like, you know what, I probably could, right? Like
it's game over.
Why would I take that chance?
Right.
To have that happen? And the analogy that I give that always goes over swimmingly well is if I had the hottest chick in the world sitting here, but she told me she had AIDS, but I got to use a condom, I'm still probably not going to fuck her because I really don't want AIDS. And if there's like a 3% chance that I'm going to get AIDS, I don't want the AIDS. Right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like this, it tracks, right? And I just, if there's a 3% chance that if I go have a drink, and that's a pretty low chance that I'm going to revert back to that old person, because that's probably the likelihood, right? It's probably single digit percentage chance that that's who I would go back to being. But there is
the chances,
but it's there, man, because I lived it. So why would I take that? So I'm not the tracking thing. I don't really care about. I think whatever, like, because I don't track it either. Like I know when my sobriety date is, right? And that's fine. But I don't want to forget.
Correct.
I don't want to forget. And so how do I not forget is by going to a meeting. It's by talking to other alcoholics. It's by helping other alcoholics so that I do remember what they're going through so that I don't go back to that.
Yeah.
What are you smiling about?
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I saw a little fucking smirk.
Yeah, we'll get there. So we have this. Obviously, this episode of the podcast is going to be completely unique to Eric.
Sorry.
So I think it's really interesting that you just said those words of "I don't want to forget," because what was the conversation that you and I had about me and my general idol, right? And that was my justification. Right. That was part of my justification was I've been through these things that keep me at a low, generally sad. Right. That's my preferred emotion.
Yeah.
And again, nobody would give a shit if I was happy all the time. Nobody would care if I was like ecstatic about things or whatever. But because the one that I chose is sad, just because where I live, everybody's like, what's that like? That's got to be awful. I'm like, it's normal for me. Right. But I stay there because I don't want to forget the things that I've been through. Right.
The difference is I'm not staying there. I'm not living in it.
You go visit there.
Right. I just remember that it's there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and
That's
even
different.
and even with me, I know that there's even like you said, probably a 3% chance that we could go pour a drink right now, and it would immediately lead to me being in a hotel with a hooker and some blow. But eventually, it would happen. You know, and so I would probably be so hyper aware of like, I'm only going to have this one cocktail.
Right.
And I could probably even be safe and like only drink on the weekends for a few months or whatever.
100%.
But at some point, I will be in a hotel with a paid for prostitute with a bag of cocaine and a bottle of liquor.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, you know. And
That's a real right there.
Yeah.
At some point, I guarantee you.
Just make sure we cut that.
Yep.
No context.
No
No
context
context
whatsoever.
whatsoever.
But
Yeah.
you know,
So that's
because
been a run in here.
I can see it. I'm sorry, you can't. But you know, I can see it. Is literally like when I'm out with you and we make a joke about we're gonna send Eric a picture of us cheersing a shot every
time. Because I drink, right?
Yeah, you do.
And so when we go out and we have a drink, he's like, let me hold that. I'm gonna take a picture and send it to Eric. I'm like, no, you're not. I don't need those problems in my life.
No.
I don't need to be the reason that you fell off the wagon or whatever the phrase is.
And I'm the guy who moved into Taylor's building and built a bar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it was actually one of the first times I went over to
That we
Danskin's
sponsor.
old studio. Was
Oh, no,
right.
I offered you a
I
drink.
might have had 30 days or something.
Oh,
It was like
Jesus.
me, Bub, Matt, and so we go over there. Tillman was there, and there was like Matt had his little liquor or whatever, and it might have been 30 days. It was something, and he's like, "Congratulations, you want a shot?"
Congratulating on a sobriety?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It worked well, but no, because I can literally picture if I think about, what would happen if I had that drink? I can vividly see it's very sped up in my mind, but I can see the time lapse to where I'm back in the Motel 6 I was in Warner Robins when I was using warm rags on my face to break up the blood clots so I could blow the blood out of my nose so that
So
I
you
could
could do more
snort
blow.
more.
Yeah.
Because it was
'Cause you
terrible.
get
I
real
went through,
clogged.
I went through all.
You got to figure out how to get unclogged.
I
so you
can't
know
imagine
up there.
what the maid service thought, but this was not a very nice motel at all because it was
Figured
a
you just had your
motel for
period.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, you said Motel 6. It
I
had
was in
doors
my-
that went straight to the outside.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And but there's no because every towel was just soaked with blood. I'm like,
Already when you came in the room.
probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I think there's something to touch on in
Yeah,
all of this.
touch.
Is that our industry is full of this conversation,
Yeah.
right? And the guys who have found a way over those things have found ways to be successful. And there's a lot of guys running really successful companies who had that past. The guys that we see on social media that are doing like the biggest chest pounding and all of that, they're toxic to themselves, so they're toxic to the people around them. And unless they find ways to grow past that and find the way to get clean or whatever their ailment is, right? They're never going to be able to create a good culture. And so but then people on the outside have to stop being attracted to those people too,
Right.
because they are the life of the party. They're out there having a good time. They're out there blowing money and they're in millions of dollars in debt, but they're doing a really good job.
And it looks good on social media.
On social media, making it look attractive and fun. And so people are gravitating to them. Like, there's got to be an education somewhere in there of just
the other thing that people don't realize, you do, but is that the booze and the drugs and the women and the whatever, like, that's the symptom.
Yep.
Right.
Way deeper.
That's the symptom to all the other shit that is being dealt with that we can't get past. Right. And when we go do these steps and these things that we do to be able to get clean, we go in there going, I just want to stop drinking, right? Like, I can't stop drinking, but you don't realize why it is that you can't stop drinking.
Correct.
Right? And the whole point of it is to change everything else so that you don't feel like you have to anymore, right? So you're eliminating the symptom of the actual problem, because the actual problem isn't the drinking. It exacerbates it and makes it worse, right? But whether it's anxiety or depression or, you know, whatever it is, or not feeling worth, like for me, it was, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. And like, I didn't feel like anybody, I truly had any like friends or anything like that. And I just felt alone all the time. And so that was why, one of the reasons that I drank and used all the time was because I wanted to be able to mask that feeling of that. But most people don't identify that it's not really the booze that is the problem. It's all the other shit that you're dealing with.
Well, those aren't the only symptoms either of drinking or doing drugs. You know, it's the overspending. Like, I'm going to buy a bunch of shit and that's going to make me not feel whatever. Or I'm going to go cheat, or I'm going to go do, you know, whatever destructive thing because of that. Whatever that
we're all doing it so that we can have those feel-good chemicals get released in our body. Right. So whether it is the sex or porn addictions or drugs or alcohol or anything like that, and that's one of the biggest issues I have with these coaching groups around, because, you know, people will have like, where do you want to go in the next 5 years? Cool, let's make a plan on that. And then they're like, why aren't you doing the work? You're not going to achieve what you're doing. But they don't go back far enough into what's my internal talk track? How are we thinking? What's going on between my ears? Because if I understand that my thoughts are going to create the ecosystem that's going to have the beliefs that's going to reinforce my actions, which is going to therefore create and define my life, I've got to go back to the beginning and rewire how I'm thinking, talking, and how my emotions are being processed before the action plan is ever going to work.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. But most of those interactions and those transactions are built solely on, I'm at X, I want to go to Z or whatever it is. It's not about truly digging into the human.
Right.
You know? And I think that's the difference. Again, it goes back to, do you care about your people that you're working with and that are working for you? Do you care about them enough to actually learn about them?
Well, because at the end of the day, you could sell any widget you want to sell.
Yep.
Right. It just so happens that it's roofs, right? The company is, while it may be a roofing company, it could be a underwater basket weaving company. It could be whatever you want it to be. You're still going to create that same culture because of who you are. You're going to still impact people. You're still going to, at your core, you're that person. It just so happens to be that you sell roofs, right? Like, I don't think anybody ever is so passionate about roofs that they're like, I knew at a young age what I was going to do.
Maybe.
Unless you were generational. Right? Unless it's a generational
I'm the
thing.
weird one.
But I, at the same time, I would still make the argument that it had nothing to do with the roofs. It had everything to do with your grandfather.
Yeah.
So if your grandfather was a horse jockey, you'd have been a horse jockey.
Correct.
Right? So
terrible one.
Yeah. You're too tall.
Way too tall.
Yeah, it would have been a slow ass fight.
Fair. But my point still stands, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And the good byproduct of all these guys that have gone through addiction and that kind of stuff, when they do come out of it, most of them are in extremely impactful to the people around them. And if you happen to also be a business owner, that works out well for your business as well.
I think it can. I think you've got the guys that go from that, I'm doing this negative, destructive behavior, to, you know, they have that point of, all right, I need to stop this. And eventually that turns around into growth, and I need to learn, and I need to change, and I need to continue to improve. But I think I've also seen guys that they stop that drug addiction or whatever, and maybe it's because they went to prison and had to, or they got whatever type of intervention to stop that thing, but then it just transitions into I need to work all the time and grind and sell and that becomes the addiction.
Yep.
And I think that can be a really negative thing where you're still not fulfilled.
Yeah, you're just replacing.
Right. And you're just doing something different. And then now you're going, hey, I need to have 50 other people that I'm telling them this is, here's our culture is we're all going to sell and cram it down people's throat. And who cares about the product and all that sort of stuff, and work 90 hours a week and forget your family. And, being able to have, like you said, becoming that person that you want, that's capable of that success. Right. I think you can have a lot of financial success without becoming that person, but it's going to be very destructive to you and the people along the way.
Yeah. So I think some of it too is how public was your train wreck too, right? Because if you have a massive, like a certain person who owns a convention that doesn't own the convention anymore, like if you have a very public train wreck based off of your addictions and things like that, I don't know that you can recover from that in the same industry, right? Like I think you have to make a shift somewhere. But if you just internally woke up one morning and you're like, hey, I got to make a change, and you didn't make a very public spectacle of your own shit.
I think you can if you own it, but said person and others don't own it.
Yeah, and I think that was what I was. You're probably making it a lot clearer than what I was intending to, but. My point was that you have to adapt to how public your shit is, right?
Yeah.
So if you were the face of this company and the whole industry knew you now, especially with social media, is if you had a massive train wreck tomorrow, the whole industry is going to be like, ooh, Eric fell off the wagon. I don't know that you could recover from that even owning it because of how you got to that point, right? And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just saying, like, you have to be aware of how wide of a track you left.
I think you can, and I think that I could, depending on how. I mean, analogy again. It's the same thing on a job site, right? You completely blow up a job, you screw it up. The difference between the person that goes and falls on the sword with the client and is like, "This is me. I screwed this up. I dropped the ball. I was supposed to be watching this. I didn't. And I made a mistake. And now I'm going to do everything in my power to make it right for you, Mrs. Homeowner," right? I think that the difference is if you're genuine with that, right? If you're genuine and authentic with that, or if you're doing it just to get the outcome that you want. So really hope that I don't fall off the wagon anytime soon. But if I did, I would hope that if I came back hat in hand and said, I own this genuinely, I screwed up, I let so many people down, and now I'm going to do the work to get back to who I was before. Right. My hope would be is that the people that supported me would be like, we got you.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But if I came back and completely ignored what I had done, completely ignored what I'd done and not owned any of it, I think that then you can't come back from that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I don't disagree with that. Or if you just make the decision that I'm Erico and I drink again, I'm going to be a piece of shit.
If you went out publicly and you're like, listen, I'm going to be real authentic with y'all right now. I have a bottle of scotch right here. I think there'd be a bunch of people surprised, and there'd be a bunch of people with an opinion.
There'll be a lot of people excited. As well.
Maybe.
Because they'll be like, I always did want to drink with that guy. That would 100% happen.
I guarantee it.
100% happen. If you decided to relapse, there'd be 100 people lining up going to be like, yep, I'm going to go drink with him. Because I've heard some of those stories, and I want to see what it's like to party with those two.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
Guaranteed.
I will say, I offered him a drink. If he had accepted it, I would have slapped it out of his hand. That wasn't a genuine offer.
But wait till he gets to the lips, right? Just like right here in the
Wow, bam.
Yeah, until he touches it. Yeah.
I kind of wish you'd done that at the hotel bar in Orlando a few years ago.
Yeah. Thanks for not.
Why? What happened?
That wasn't.
Danskin
I was
saved
his
me.
intervention.
Yeah.
I was sitting outside.
It was actually
RoofCon.
like the night.
Oh, that story. Okay. Go on.
The night that I ended up like in the ER, I was in the ER a few days later from my drinking. But yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So he was. I was sitting outside the hotel bar, like on the outside of the on the patio or whatever.
Yeah.
Hanging out, talking with some guys, and
like 15 or 20 people in the industry.
Yeah. There's a bunch of guys from all at RoofCon or whatever, and I see a bar stool like through the window, like hit the ground and go skidding back. And like, I've been around enough bars and fights or whatever to know like, oh, somebody's about to fight.
Yeah.
But I'm 50 feet away and on the other side of a wall and all that. Like, I'm just sitting there hanging out. Like, I'm not even going to engage in this. And then somebody looks in and goes, "Isn't that your boy?" And I was like, I'm like, oh yeah, I do know him.
I know him.
And we didn't know each other real well at that point.
Okay.
But I went in and I think I just grabbed him by the arm.
Yeah,
and
he said, "Come on,
walked
out
him
with
outside.
us."
Hey, come on out here, because I knew like you're starting to fight in a hotel bar.
Yeah,
like this is
not
going to go well for anybody involved. Right. The best thing we can do is just completely diffuse, get you out of here, because otherwise you might have gotten arrested and. Somebody actually get hurt fighting or whatever,
Yeah.
And
I'm not sure if I would have won that one or not. I was pretty fucked up.
Who was it?
I don't know, some random ass dude.
Oh,
somebody that was making fun of his fanny pack that he
who's
wore
having a
ironically
diabetic issue.
anyway.
That's what's so funny. I was wearing the champion fanny pack that I'll wear, and I wore it literally because it was going to be funny. And then this guy told me that I looked like a bitch. And I just lost it.
But he wasn't wrong.
No, like he was probably,
Yeah,
pretty
he
factual.
just didn't understand humor.
Correct.
Got it.
Yes. Yeah, I just absolutely lost it.
Right. And instead of being like, "It's ironic, asshole."
Right. Yeah, I wanted to fight.
Right. Yeah, you're violent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. Yeah,
oh, okay. Was.
There was a
It's a period.
28 year period.
28-year period
that
I was violent. Yeah. Did you like fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I think you either love it or you're like, you avoid it like the plague.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I don't say this like in a bragging type way, but I've probably been in 40 or 50 different,
really,
like just scuffles, altercations. Yeah.
I never got into a lot of fights. When people would start to fuck with me at a bar or whatever, I was big enough that I could just grab them and throw them. Mm-hmm. And so I just throw them. And it was like, he just threw him. And then the fight was kind of...
We're saloon doors.
Yeah. I think that was my issue because, I was 6'1", 155 pounds.
You were scrappy.
People, I've been locked up to the point, and then where if somebody says anything... you can't look bad. You can't.
Have you ever said, "Do you know who I am?"
Yeah.
If not, you should. Yeah. It's fun to watch people because if they do know you, they go.
Yeah.
If they don't know you, they go, no.
Yeah. Well, and because I actually, when I was in high school, there was one of my good buddies. We're not really close anymore, but
what's his name?
Kelly.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna send this to Kelly.
Yeah. And
Kelly.
And so he had told me because I was going to fight this guy. And he told me...
Like it was scheduled?
Premeditated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like we said after school. It was like my senior year or something.
Okay,
We're like, after school, let's meet at the Save Right parking lot. Oh. And so it ended up being this big old brawl. But like, he went by Kels. And so Kels told me, he said, "Hey, man, you already know you're there to fight. Like, there's nothing to talk about. Walk up and deck this dude."
Yeah.
Because he's like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I literally took that with me for the rest of my life. And it was to the point where when I knew the situation was going to a fight, I would just strike. And
I had a drug dealer that gave me the same advice.
Yeah, and it was literally like same thing.
So you dead now?
If
He
I was
is.
in,
I swear to God, he is dead. He got shot at a bar in Omaha when he came back.
Because he was too slow on the first move.
that's about right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
because
wasn't ready.
literally, like if me and Robo are getting into it and it's starting to escalate,
Just
I'm
hit
just
him.
gonna decapitate Robo.
Right.
Just bow.
No, that's the right play.
immediately. Yep.
Yeah, that's absolutely the right play.
Yep.
Don't let him think
No,
about
I won't
it.
do that. But yeah, I mean, it was just it was
Thanks.
my MO. But I haven't been into
Of anybody here that's
It's fine. I haven't been into an altercation since I've been sober, but I almost had one, but I was able to walk away because they had been drinking, and I'm
Well,
like,
fun
I'm
fact,
like, A, I know that I know what to
almost
do
all
with
the
my
time you do
hands,
walk away.
Right.
and B,
Usually,
I'm not
yeah.
going to be sober and tear you up because you're drunk. I just walked away.
I do love playing poker sober now. Guys won't let me play cards with them.
We need to get you and Dan
because
to
it's
I'll let
so
you play.
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do a
You
little
don't- You don't
competition.
count. I ain't fucking with
Autism
you.
beats sobriety.
Yeah, autism beats sobriety every fucking time. I'm not doing that. But that's like a real thing though, because like guys wouldn't invite me back to poker games because like I could watch them
Yeah.
and like I would pay attention.
Mhm.
And they're like, how do you know? And I'm like, I'm not hammered, asshole. Like this is easy. It felt like cheating.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you feel like that every day? It's just cheating.
At certain times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really? I
Up,
mean,
down,
like, I'm
left,
being
right,
serious.
triangle,
Yeah.
square,
Yeah,
O.
I can go
Cheat
full
code.
Rain Man on,
Yeah.
certain things.
Yeah. Does that is that fun? Like what's the emotion behind that?
Like just being good at things. I think a lot of times it's frustrating when, and again, this goes back to the like, there's things that I'm really, really good at.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of things that I'm really, really bad at. So I don't have this like big head of like, I'm the smartest guy in the world.
You have kind
But
of a
at
big head.
certain, at certain things, I'm like, why is everybody so stupid?
Right. God, I say that every day. But go on.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay.
That's the tism. There's not a lot of emotion with it. Like it's just
A matter of fact. That,
Yep.
I'm just really fucking good at this and you're an idiot.
yeah. Well, and it seems like this is a really simple thing. Like, why is
Was
this
it
an
so
issue?
fucking hard?
Right.
Yeah.
Like my 4-year-old, we walked into the hotel.
Fucking
He's got-
4-year-olds are so dumb.
He's got he's got it harder than I do, and like we like walked through this room or whatever. He's like, "There's 24 lights on the ceiling." I'm like,
Really?
you know,
Was
and I'm
there?
like,
Did
go
you
back
confirm?
there. Oh yeah.
Wow.
And it's just like matter of fact thing where it's like that's
Did you know?
it's not actually that helpful of a thing.
No, that isn't.
But
later
it's
in
kind
life
of
when he
a-
decides to rob a bank,
Right.
super helpful.
Super helpful.
It's exactly 8.5 steps from the front door to the counter.
Yeah. So how do you utilize that strength in your life, business,
Yeah, that's a good
everything that you
question.
do?
I think a lot of it comes down to looking at things kind of like a math equation.
Okay.
So like with my whole restoration referral system thing, like that came down to the math of like how much time I'm spending
Mhm.
to get what output,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are just too emotionally, or they can't see through the fog or whatever to figure those things out. They just know, hey, when I go do this activity, it's good, like and I can do more of that activity, and so that's more good.
Right.
As opposed to going, hey, this is 17% more efficient than this, so I'm going to do this. And,
Okay.
so I think a lot of it is not necessarily like knowing the outcome, but looking at it in terms of variables. And
Do you feel
was-
like you know the outcome though, even though you say you don't? Like when you run it through, you're like, no, this is what's going to happen because I'm doing this, this, and this. And like you're
Typically-
confident.
yeah,
about
typically,
it.
like with the agent relationship stuff, like I would go do the exact same meeting with all these different people. And most people are just like, oh, I'm going to go and just make a friend and talk to him or
Right.
what, and like I would have, I'm doing the exact same thing, but you would get the exact same phrases coming back from the agents because I was doing the same thing, and they're predictable humans, and they would, and so I wouldn't look at it as, oh, this is George, and he's a special, unique snowflake. It's just like, all right, like there's inputs.
He's just
and
another.
outputs
He's
here.
just another bitch insurance agent that I want to work with.
Yeah,
Got it. Yeah, all right.
I mean, you can I think you can
He's not a
still-
human.
I think you can still be genuine and go like, "Hey, I like George," or but
totally
at the
fine.
same time, it's like in this context, I'm here to go create a relationship
Right.
so that I can get profitable
Yep.
referrals and feed my family and
Yeah.
all the things.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the difference. And again, we were talking about like, I'm even just now still understanding ways that I'm different because you just assume like this is the way everybody thinks because
Right.
this is how I think. And you don't really necessarily get context for that.
Are there days that you see it as a negative? Or
for
curse
sure.
or whatever?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, in, any relationship, even like, with my wife, like there's ways where she's like, "Hey, I need you to emotionally connect with me on this." And I'm like, I would love to, but I have no idea what you're talking about. Like this doesn't compute to me.
Now we're all shitty at that too,
Sure.
but we don't have a reason.
Yeah. I at least have an excuse.
Yeah, you gotta
you
gotta
gotta-
use something.
Yeah.
as
Yeah,
an
right.
Excuse.
Play
That's
that
not
card.
fair.
Yep.
Can I just
We
start
just have
saying
to
I
own
got
it.
something?
Sure, yeah.
Sorry, I
I mean,
messed
You start
up.
using
There's
the
no
phrase
police out
"we're all
there.
on the spectrum" somehow.
Yeah,
Yes.
somehow.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
I
It
just
is
can't
the
relate to
spectrum.
that. I'm hardwired that way.
But like
yeah.
with poker, so I mostly paid for college playing poker.
Oh, really?
And I would just play in small games, but I would make $200-$300 a night every day. But I would lose $40 once a month. But it was
On
just my
purpose,
job.
just so they'd let you come back.
No, just every once in a while, like
Yeah.
the
So that
cards
you
would go
banned
bad.
from
The
Vegas.
cards go bad, and but again, if you're making $300 a night and you lose 40 every once in a while, it's
Right,
not
who
a big
gives a
deal.
shit?
Right.
So I was living like a king in college. I had a tank full of piranhas in my room, and
I'm sorry.
yeah,
What?
it was weird.
Talk about putting
Kind of
it
a-
on the table.
A bond
Yeah,
building.
like you opened that door. Why?
You can't
Uh,
unsay certain things.
So I also
Yeah.
have we talked about this. The
This better
the
be
fish.
real.
So I had a time where I kind of became obsessed with fish, and like in high school. So I'd read books about it and learn all the different fish and
That
their
aligns with the
characteristics.
autism.
And,
yeah, autism goes in phases.
yeah, all those types of things. And I was like, I was found where I could order these particular piranha, and I was like, that would be cool.
From the Amazon rainforest.
No, it was actually from New Jersey.
No, New Jersey piranhas.
There's
New
piranhas.
Jersey.
I mean, from
piranhas.
like
Are
an
we talking
aquarium
short
store,
Italian women?
like an aquarium store in New Jersey.
Eric's
Anyway.
face right now is
That's
What'd you feed them?
fingers.
bloodworms
Hot dogs.
and rosy red goldfish.
And how long did you have this piranha set up?
They're still at the house.
Oh, about a year.
About a year.
Yeah.
Then what did you do with said piranhas?
I moved and we kind of got jammed up where they got locked in a room and I couldn't get to them. And they
What?
died.
This sounds like a hostage situation.
No, I was in college and we're going from
Oh,
you know,
okay.
one house to another.
Sure.
And
And
they
they got
died.
locked in a room and they died.
Somebody killed
Yeah.
your piranhas. That's
Somebody
what
did,
happened.
yeah.
That was intentional.
God, okay.
Uh,
Do you still have a fish obsession?
Not nearly like I did before.
Do you have fish tanks at home?
I have a fish tank that is sitting in my garage waiting to be set up when I finish.
Are you getting
renovating my
piranhas?
Yeah.
den. I am undecided.
Ooh.
Because I would imagine
Sharks.
it's either piranhas or other fish. You probably don't have piranhas and other fish.
Correct. But piranhas really need dark settings, so you can do like a black light or something. But
and then if you're doing a black light, you want to get like all the beta fish and stuff that glow in the dark because they're cooler looking.
Ooh, that'd be a cool video
Oh,
of watching
yeah.
them eat them. Sorry.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Anyway,
And
sorry.
then I know
way
that.
off the rails.
Yeah. I know that.
Sorry, that's just what happens
gonna
when I'm on a
be-
show. So
Yeah. And I know that we're gonna do our reaction stuff. What do you have
Are
for
we doing a
us
reaction?
on
I
reactions today?
I don't know that we have an actual clip prepared,
Okay.
but we do have a kind of a thing going on in the industry that we were going to talk about, and that is recently this past week, and I'm not sure when this is going to air, but
It's I guess end of April.
yeah, we'll figure it out.
Texas roofer.
But Steve Badger kind of went on the attack of David Taggart, a roofing contractor out of San Antonio, about UPPA. And initially I thought that was,
Didn't Dimitri do something with him about this UPPA stuff?
Possibly.
With Badger or Taggart?
With Badger.
Oh. Yeah,
I feel like there was a
bunch of people looking for clout from him.
What I think is interesting
insights,
is that Taggart did a content piece with Badger at, I think it was IRE or whatever in this last year about UPPA.
Mm-hmm.
And Badger actually kind of gave him a pretty wide berth of what you could do as a contractor. And then, and I think that's the tough part is it's a little bit of a muddy gray area. And I think Badger kind of trapped him in the gray.
Well, a lot of, as you read through that entire thing between Facebook and LinkedIn, and it doesn't matter who you know or who you don't know in this scenario, but it didn't become an issue that Badger really engaged until a bunch of people jumped into the thread speaking about legal issues, right? Like there was a guy that said something about, well, this is within his right to free speech. And then there was another guy saying, oh, well, this is libel and you can sue them for that. So
people are just dumb.
That was when Steve jumped in there and he was like, hey, not for naught, but we could say that use of the terms negotiated this claim for months.
Correct.
Blah, blah, using those terms.
Yeah. For anybody that hasn't seen the whole
to
context
be fair,
of this.
I did watch the video.
I didn't watch the video. I'm just reading the text.
And if I remember right, because I was listening, and this is not me defending either party, to be very clear, I did not hear negotiating.
It may have been in the post.
That wasn't in the video. So that was in what Steve Badger kind of went after. Dave Taggart made a post about, we've been helping these people for months to negotiate their insurance claim.
But I don't know if he said negotiate.
He did, yeah.
In that video he did?
Not in that video. It's in a post.
Oh, he put the word negotiate in the post. Oh, okay.
And,
I didn't see that.
Which is a,
that's a trigger
critical,
word.
word.
Yeah.
And,
kind of
and then basically the
UPPA.
customer said, hey, thanks for getting our claim paid. We're going to go with somebody else.
Right.
And so he was upset about that. And Badger was basically just going, hey, you can't be upset about that because you're not even supposed to be doing that.
And I don't understand why people want to I understand having a conversation with an attorney, maybe get some clarity, but I'm not going to poke the hornet's nest of an attorney that's trying to go after
and if you know
contractors
Zell Hoffman,
in my state.
If you know Zell, I think it's Zell Hoffman is the name of the law firm, but if you know, Steve's a partner at Zell. Their almost exclusive existence is to find people screwing up.
Yeah,
in the
it literally
so you're
is.
putting a target on your back
Yeah.
to now have all these eyes on you. So you better be right. Like, and you better like not step out
I had a
because
funny
that
run-in.
gray area is going to turn black quick.
I had a funny run-in with Steve Badger where we had used in one of our posts, I think, "What the hell,"
Mm-hmm.
and
that's
he was like, "Hey,
that's the name of his conference."
Well, something along those lines. But he was like, "Hey, he's like, I'm not going to come after you, but just so you know, we have that copyright or like trademarked or whatever." And I was like, "Ha ha ha!" And then I was like, "I'm just going to Google that." Nope, sure enough.
Yeah.
They do. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to not use that anymore because I'm not trying to like
because you're
get a lawyer coming after me over something that
you're not
really
gaining
isn't
some
important
weird
to me.
advantage by arguing like, okay, so maybe I didn't negotiate, maybe we assisted. Cool. That's not the foundation of this issue, right? Like, and so the amount of contractors that I see that are just willing to die on the hill of UPPA stuff, it's like, just don't. Like, you're not going to win. You're going to potentially, your best case scenario, you're wasting a bunch of your time that you could be doing other stuff that's making you money. Is it that important? Is that one? Is that lady's 30
It's a righteousness.
I get it, but
It's
I just don't,
that's what I'm
not
saying.
so convicted to.
No, I know,
anything
but I'm
that,
just
like,
saying it's a righteousness and it's an ego thing. And I'm going to give my hot take.
Love that.
On the whole thing. I don't think either party really gives a fuck.
Correct.
I think both parties realize the attention that they get from it.
Oh yeah.
Right. I don't think there's a hill that either of them really care about dying on. I don't think either of them give a fuck about UPPA.
It's just clickbait.
I truly don't. Like, and again, that's why I don't support either one.
Right.
And I don't have ill will. Like, I have interviewed Steve, and like I've had numerous conversations with Steve. And I don't hate Steve. Like, I like talking to Steve, and like Steve's a nice guy, but he's a lawyer.
Right.
Like, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to do lawyer stuff.
Yep.
Like, so be prepared for lawyer stuff, and that's no fun, especially if you're not a lawyer.
Yep.
Right. And I don't have a relationship with Dave, with David. I don't know what fuck he goes by, but like, I don't have a relationship with him. So like, I have nothing good or bad to say about him either. But like, I don't believe, like, it was a job, right? Yeah. Just, it was a job. You fucking lost it. Dude, be in business for a few more fucking years. You're going to lose 85 more jobs because of bad clients, right? They're bad clients. We've had all kinds of bad clients over the years.
Yep.
You're going to lose jobs all the time, right? Yep. So it's not that's not the hill to die on, because there's ways to work it where you're not violating anything, and you're still doing the right thing, and you're still helping your client.
Correct.
Well, and the party that should care
is the homeowner.
Is the insurance company. If somebody's going to point a finger about somebody violating UPPA, it should be the carrier going, hey, this guy's negotiating a claim.
Right.
It shouldn't be, I got on Facebook, posted that I was trying, let's just assume that the intent was to be beneficial to the homeowner, right? Mm-hmm. And you just used the wrong words. Cool.
Yeah.
The person that should care is the insurance company. Right? Because the homeowner's being indemnified if you did truly do what you said you did over months and everything got approved. So cool, they're good. You just got on Facebook to kind of gripe that you lost your shit.
Right.
Used the wrong words. It got somebody sent it to Badger, and Badger did exactly what Badger does. Yeah. And says, well, you and all these other assholes in here that don't understand law, let me tell you about law.
Right.
Nothing's going to come out of it.
No.
Nobody's going to sue him.
No.
He's going to lose that 30 square job that on 123 Main Street, and he's going to gripe about it forever. And it's going to be the one that got away. But the party that actually gives a shit about UPPA isn't even engaging this.
No.
So
because to be fair, it probably wasn't.
Right.
It probably wasn't. My assumption would be he did not violate any UPPA.
Or it's Texas, and he probably violated it in its entirety.
Maybe.
But 90% of contractors do.
Right.
Because again, the line is so gray.
Right.
That
I've got no idea about how David operates, but I know a lot of guys that use the wrong verbiage around UPPA, right? Mm-hmm. Like they say things that you're just like, oh, geez, like don't say that. But ultimately what they're doing is they go up and they go, yep, you got some hail damage. I'm not going to inspect or document a damn thing. I'm going to let the adjuster come out here, write the scope. I'm going to send it off to XYZ Supplements, who's going to juice up my claim or whatever you want to call it, and
maximize.
And then, and I spent, X number of dollars on getting that done. And then now I'm all upset because I signed a contingency agreement saying I do the work for insurance proceeds. And like, it is so backwards of like, if you're going to get yourself in trouble for UPPA, at least be useful, right? At least document the claim, at least like write the estimate
because
first.
A lot of these guys that are doing that are literally doing exactly what you said. They're doing the bare minimum, and they're in a state that's unregulated with the exception of UPPA. Right. And so they grew up in that era being taught by guys who went around with magnets on the side of their truck that said free inspections, we'll waive your deductible, and we'll deal with your
insurance claim specialist.
Correct.
Well, I mean, I was a few years into roofing when and I was in the same camp of like, I'm not going to write an estimate. Like I want the adjuster's estimate, and then we're going to do this. And like, until it like finally dawned on me, like, because I came from construction where we estimated everything, and we're like, hey, here's our estimate.
Yeah, you had to.
Do you want to sign a contract and do this thing? Mm-hmm. And maybe there's going to be change orders. Maybe there's not. But it was like, this roofing stuff's not all that complicated most of the time. Like I can be pretty darn accurate with an estimate without any help from, the Allstate guy adjuster who was a sandwich artist 2 weeks ago. I can probably, come pretty close to the right number.
To be fair, that's a lot of the reps too that were a sandwich artist the week before.
For sure. For sure. But That's where as
They
a
should have a
company,
team. They better
that's not
be
the guy
right.
that's writing the estimate.
Correct. Yeah. Well, and again, that's where the problem lies, is that when you have the companies that are like, nope, you're doing everything. You are writing the estimate. You are.
I don't
sending
know
in the
why
supplement.
everything's
you are,
a mess.
Like,
I just
yeah.
had this.
Why is this all
this
fucked up?
brand new
It's like,
guy
I don't know, because he
managing
was
a project.
flipping burgers last week, and now you want him to write a detailed estimate on how to
Exactly.
replace a roof?
Yeah,
Right.
didn't you know that you were supposed to take photos of the flashings so we get paid for
No,
them?
they didn't make me take pictures of the chicken nuggets. So why would I have to do that?
We barely counted those things.
Yeah.
With,
Yep. Well, dude,
we
I'm
should
so
have Steve
glad
Badger.
that you
We
were
should
here.
have him come out
Yeah.
and just do a whole episode on UPPA.
Oh God, that'd be riveting.
But I think between the three of us, we could incite some good conversation.
Yeah, and
I think
then
it- yeah,
all get
I
a
wouldn't-
letter from
I
an
wouldn't
attorney
hate that.
afterward.
The thing is, when you sit down with Steve, though, he's very, he's very personable.
Oh.
And he's very like, he's very good at being like, I understand where you're coming from.
However, the law says this.
Right. Yeah. And I think that the conversation that doesn't really happen much, because as a lawyer, as a judge, as a whatever, it's always, well, this is the law. And it's like, okay, well, could we maybe have a conversation about why it's wrong?
Yep.
Yeah.
Maybe could we have a conversation of how we think maybe things should change? I understand that's how it is now,
Yep.
but we also used to fucking hang people and burn them for being witches. So maybe we could have a conversation
should do that
about
again.
Yeah.
things that could change
Well,
as
and
well.
Right.
the legal arm
Maybe
though,
do
is
that
for
over bitching about-
interpreting the law as it is, not for making the law. So it goes in the
Try to figure out how to change the law.
Right. Well, and
That
that's
goes
the
through
other
the
thing. Maybe,
legislative
yeah,
branch.
maybe don't
So
bitch
go
about
to your fucking
losing
legislators. You know what I
losing
mean?
a
Like
claim.
start having conversations with the people that matter so
Yep.
that things could actually change. If you truly believe that it's wrong,
Yep.
you're not going to change it just by screaming from a mountaintop.
Correct.
Right.
Go start doing the things, because you sure as shit know that Badger's going to the legislature
Yep.
to get things changed. It's like his job. It's what he
Correct.
does, and he's really, really good at it. Right. All the trade organizations, you're like go to RCAT, right? Make
Yeah.
RCAT lobby and go try to actually change things. I have no idea if they are, but like that's who you need to be talking to, that has the power to be able to go to the legislature and say, hey, let's actually make a change if we really think this is wrong. And we should be able to do certain things that we're not allowed to do right now,
Yep.
and make a true case for it. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe we shouldn't be able to do certain things, right?
Yep.
But let's have that conversation
Yeah.
to see if it actually can be changed, instead of just screaming.
And Texas does have a House bill right now that's being, going
Problem
through
is
the
half the
rounds.
people, and we'll wrap on this, but the problem is that half of the people that are lobbying for our industry are massive pieces of shit and probably should be in jail for other things.
Sure.
So that's
That's fair.
a great end note right there.
Yeah,
Done.
I mean,
hit a gavel sound or
and
something.
cut.
Bam.
And buy the book. Fucking,
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
had
buy
a
the
3-minute
book.
clip of "Shut the fuck up and listen more."
We'll put a
right
link
there.
in the comments.
I'll put a link in the
And then
comments.
the next 2 hours is going to be Eric reading the book to you.
Oh God, that'd be
As
good.
monotone as
So
possible.
I am speaking at my daughter's 4th and 5th grade career day next week. So that's going to be interesting. And everybody thought I should bring a copy of the book to hand out to
Yeah,
the
maybe
kids. I thought it would.
I
be.
mean, you could.
Hey,
but that'll be the
11-year-olds.
last time
I think
you
it'd be
get
a great
invited
idea
to the school.
Yeah, they don't know who they invited.
Yeah.
And so I literally had to go. So, okay, I'll close on this. So this is what I did to prepare for that. I got in Chat GPT and I was like, hey, you know me really well. Could you write me an outline of what to speak to 10-year-olds about and not curse, so that I won't
Mhm.
curse at it?
Yep.
And I'll go to hell. It gave me a really nice outline, and I am prepared for 10-year-olds now.
Love that.
Thank you, Chat GPT.
It's like watching Kindergarten Cop.
Yep. It's going to be fun. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Yeah, it was great.
appreciate
I'm
you.
glad you were here, dude.
It
Yeah.
was a good
Thanks for
conversation.
being here.
Yeah, this is fun.
Yep.
This is a nice little setup y'all got here.